Dan, are we good? Turn the phones off here. All right, let's get settled here. Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We got some sunny weather here, which is always nice. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we're on the unceded territory of the Katzie, Semiahmoo, and Kwantlen First Nations, on whose land TransLink is so proud to work, to operate, and to serve every single day. For those that don't know me, I'm Kevin Quinn, CEO at TransLink, and so happy to be with you today. Joining me today, we have the BC Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Rob Fleming. Thank you so much. Where's Rob? There he is. Hey, Rob. Thanks for joining us today. We also have Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke. Mayor Locke was not able to join us today. She had a conflict. Delta Mayor George Harvey, thank you for being here today, as well as Port Coquitlam Mayor Brad West and Chair of our Mayor's Council. So thank you, Brad, for being here. We also have Minister of State Dan Coulter here. So Dan, thank you. Trying to be sure we got everybody. I also want to recognize MLA Sim, Delta Councillor Kruger, Delta Councillor Binder, Councillor Joe Hall, and Councillor Dosange. And my apologies if we've missed anyone. We've tried to grab everyone. There's a lot of folks running around. So thank you all for being here today. Before we begin with today's announcement, I want to acknowledge the recent violence incidents that we've seen on our transit system. And I'll say, as a father, I was particularly shocked regarding the fatal stabbing of a teenager on board one of our buses earlier this week, and our sincere condolences are with that young man's family. I want to be really abundantly clear that everyone has the right to feel safe on transit, and these incidents are absolutely unacceptable. Our transit police have already stepped up patrols in crime hotspots, and the forthcoming 24 community safety officers will allow our police to further focus their efforts on criminal activity. We are always looking for new ways to improve safety on transit, and I want to emphasize that if anyone feels unsafe on our system, they should immediately text Transit Police at any time on 877777. I want to just talk personally for a second and kind of go off script here. Look, I'm angry. We're really angry. We're very frustrated. I am bothered by these events. And as a parent of two transit riding kids every single day, I am concerned. And the fact is that we will not stand for these types of incidents on our system. We will not allow criminals or those who want to commit crimes to come onto our system. This is our system. This is the region's transit system, and we will not stand for this. And you have my assurance that we are doing everything we can in coordinating with our local, our municipal, our provincial authorities to make our system safe, and we'll continue to explore ways to make our system safe. On that note, I do want to move on to today's announcement for our R6 RapidBus, and that's because demand for transit south of the Fraser is bursting at the seams. While transit ridership in most other places in North America is struggling to bounce back, ridership south of the Fraser River has not only bounced back, but has actually surpassed pre-pandemic levels. And in fact, every weekday, we're seeing approximately 14,000 more transit trips here than we did in 2019. That's 10% more trips than we saw before the pandemic. Transit ridership recovery south of the Fraser is leading the rest of Metro Vancouver and honestly leading North America. And that's why today we are so proud to announce our 6th RapidBus route coming to Surrey and Delta to provide faster, more reliable service to the busiest bus corridor south of the Fraser. The R6 will provide an express limited stop service between Newton Exchange and Scott Road SkyTrain Station, making commutes faster and more convenient for customers in Surrey and in Delta. Around 20,000 people take transit on this corridor every single weekday, and this upgraded premium service will provide faster, more reliable service for customers thanks to fewer stops, bigger buses, all-door boarding, and bus priority lanes. Once in service, the R6 will be approximately 10 minutes faster in each direction with capacity to serve more customers, which will save people critical time in their day and give more room. To deliver this service, we are implementing road improvements, which start today. Now underway, we're constructing more dedicated bus lanes along Scott Road and 72nd Avenue, improving bus stops and adding a new bus layover lot that can store more idle buses right here where we're standing by Newton Exchange. This work is expected to take throughout the year with the R6 in service in early 2024. Since the pandemic began, we have continually invested in Surrey, Delta, Langley, and White Rock more than anywhere else in the region because this is where we have continuously seen the most customers returning to transit. We have boosted service here by 12% since 2020, which is more than anywhere else in the region. And work is progressing by the provincial government on the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain as well to rapidly improve service. And the R6 is yet another way we are committed to improving service in Surrey and Delta to make sure our riders are being served. I want to especially thank Mayors Locke and Harvey for their partnership in delivering this important project. And I want to thank Minister Fleming and Minister Coulter for the BC government's support of transit and for funding 40% of the R6 upgrade costs. Thank you so much for your time today. It's my pleasure to now introduce the BC Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, Minister Rob Fleming.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for getting us started here today, and good morning to everyone who's joined us. I'm very pleased to be on the territory of the Katzie, Semiahmoo, and Kwantlen First Nations, and I'm delighted to be joined by a number of leaders who've made today's announcement possible. Mayor Locke, who was unable to join us today, definitely deserves a shout out for her advocacy on more transit service south of the Fraser and Surrey specifically. It's great to be here with George Harvey again, the Mayor of Delta, who's been a passionate advocate for expanding transit service in the region. Kevin Quinn has been an awesome CEO, leading us through very difficult times, getting us through the pandemic, and has a lot to be proud of as the most robust transit system in North America in terms of how it's recovered from the pandemic. And those aren't bragging rights that come easily. They were established by working closely with our government and the federal government as well to make sure that funding was there even as we went through difficult times during a state of health emergency in this province to maintain services. We thought that would help us bounce back more quickly, and certainly you've heard that in fact that was successful. And it's also great to be here with the chair of the Metro Mayors Council, Brad West from Port Coquitlam. Mayor West, great to see you again. We'll hear from him in a few moments. My buddy Dan Coulter, the Minister of State for Infrastructure and Transit, is here as well. Also a very passionate advocate for improving our transit networks, not just here in the TransLink system, but right across the province of BC. And it's good to see my colleague as well, MLA Ginny Sims. This is one thing you don't have to call me about again, because we're announcing it today and it's going to happen. So good to see you, Ginny. I don't have to tell people here how important public transit is to connect us to our jobs, to connect us to our families, to connect us to events and activities that we participate in our daily lives. It is the spine and the backbone and in fact the heart of our communities, and serves so many hundreds of thousands of people each and every day in the TransLink system. Strong transit networks strengthen our province throughout BC. They are the pathway forward to a more sustainable environment. They are the pathway to living in more livable communities as we experience growth, and we desire to shape that growth around having excellent transit systems. And they're essential for people of all ages and abilities to get where they need to go. Metro Vancouver is home to some of Canada's fastest growing communities. We expect to be welcoming about 50,000 newcomers to Metro Vancouver every year by 2025. Many of these residents will gravitate and settle in vibrant, dynamic communities like Surrey and Delta. It is great to see ridership here south of the Fraser exceeding pre-pandemic levels, as Kevin Quinn said, 110% and growing of their pre-pandemic daily passenger boardings. Some of the strongest ridership growth in this region is right here. And I've been delighted in my very brief time as Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure to confirm the first expansion of SkyTrain in 30 years south of the Fraser with the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain. concurrently with the Broadway subway, which is under construction right now. Those two projects, for the first time in our history as a province in this region, will be built simultaneously, and they represent a 27% expansion to the SkyTrain track network in this region. So huge investments, but huge benefits. And when you combine the government's initiatives around transit-oriented development, billions of dollars to provide affordable housing, which is going to be anchored by investments in our transportation networks, that's what livable communities look like. That's what the future of Metro Vancouver is. And I want to thank the mayors who have shaped a very ambitious plan for this region going forward for the next 10 years, because I think it meets exactly where the province would like to go, and we will be a partner in all of those initiatives that are contained in that plan. This brings me to today, the R6 Scott Road RapidBus, which will make a huge difference for residents in Surrey Delta and everyone who travels here south of the Fraser. This new route is TransLink's largest service expansion in 3 years. It includes fewer stops, higher capacity buses, more bus priority lanes, and the use of technology for accessibility upgrades for customers that includes digital signage, next bus information that is audible for those who are customers who have sight loss, and it's going to be a massive improvement in terms of how much time it saves people getting to where they want to go. 10 minutes between Newton Exchange and Scott Road will be shaved off each and every trip. That means people going there and back will have 20 minutes of their lives to be at their final destination, whether it's at home or work, instead of being stuck in congestion. So this rapid bus network is critical to service reliability, and reliability and frequency of service brings more ridership. We know that, and that's why the rapid bus network that is being built out, and this is the 6th line that will come into operation, has been such a huge success in this region. I've talked a little bit about the global pandemic, the higher costs, the lower than expected fare revenues, and some of the financial problems that every transportation authority in the continent faced, and TransLink was no exception. COVID-19 was a generational challenge for all of us, the first pandemic in 100 years. It threatened to bring chaos to a lot of things that we take for granted in our daily lives, and it is causing serious problems to transit networks outside of British Columbia as a jurisdiction. We are talking about reduced service levels in a number of metropolitan regions in Canada and across North America. I know that people who hold Mayor Harvey's and Mayor West's position in other parts of the country are looking at really uncomfortable things to do, like canceling routes, double-digit fare hikes. Those are things that we're not doing here in British Columbia because our government simply wasn't going to let that happen. And while we faced the pandemic together and all the uncertainty that it brought, we brought in the resources to protect all that we'd built in a growing, dynamic public transit system. $850 million from both the federal and provincial governments to offset those lost revenues and maintain services at a level that was necessary to keep essential service designation going and to keep our transit system whole. We know the recovery was not over this year, and that going forward there's still uncertainty and there's still some replacement to do in terms of riders and getting them back into the system. That's why last month we announced $479 million for TransLink to further recover and grow, to expand and keep the system in good repair, and to make sure that those expansion plans continue. This funding also ensured the continuation of the highly successful free transit for kids 12 and under, and I think we had 3 million boardings already for kids 12 and under getting to places with their families. That's a remarkable investment in a new generation of transit riders. That was the point of the initiative by our government, to get people used to using the transit system as part of how they get around this region, how we tackle things like affordability, which has brought a lot of challenges from the scourge of inflation that has hit every part of the world in a global inflationary crisis. But thankfully, affordability through the transit system is an advantage we have here in British Columbia. So today, while cities like Toronto, Halifax, and Montreal are facing tough choices around cutting service levels or increasing fares, as I said, in some cases by double digits, here in BC we're not only maintaining service levels, we'll be adding another rapid bus route in Metro Vancouver to provide people with more reliable, accessible, and affordable public transit options. So I want to thank again all the leaders that were involved in advocating for this. I want to thank TransLink and local governments, such a critical partner in reaching our province's climate action goals. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to ensure that we have a strong, resilient transit system in Metro Vancouver for generations to come. And on that note, I would like to conclude and then introduce Brad West, the Mayor of Port Coquitlam and the Chair of the Metro Mayor's Council, to come and say a few words. Brad?
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I want to begin by thanking Minister Fleming and Coulter, MLA Sims, and the entire provincial government for their support of our region's public transit system. Because of the way they stepped up in a dire situation and provided support, we're here today with an announcement about expanded service, better service, meeting the needs of our region, instead of going the opposite direction, which is happening in so many different parts of North America. And it's because of the decision that the province made in that regard that we're able to do so. I want to thank them sincerely for their support and their ongoing commitment to expand our region's transit service. I want to acknowledge as well my colleagues from the Mayor's Council, Councillor Kruger and Mayor Harvey, for their advocacy for not only Delta but the entire region of Metro Vancouver when it comes to meeting the needs of our residents, and particularly for their strong advocacy for communities south of the Fraser. Bus service is the backbone of the transit system, and it's a backbone that the Mayor's Council is committed to strengthening. We know that ridership is growing throughout Metro Vancouver, but especially here in communities like Surrey, Delta, Langley, and White Rock, ridership is growing the fastest. That momentum is going to continue. As you've heard, Metro Vancouver is adding 50,000 more people to the region every single year. That's like adding the entire municipality of North Vancouver to Metro Vancouver every year. As our region expands, access to reliable transportation options need to expand with it. And that's why improvements like the new RapidBus lines are so important. Now, I've had the first-hand experience of seeing how the R3 RapidBus along Lougheed Highway has sped up service for residents in my community of Port Coquitlam over the past 3 years. With limited stops, dedicated bus lanes, all-door boarding, and larger buses, RapidBus is the best bus service we have in this region right now, and it is a game changer. I'm excited to see construction begin today to help speed up bus service on the busiest corridor south of the Fraser as well. The R6 will help to move tens of thousands of people reliably every day, speeding up their commute and getting them back home to their families. Most important part of our day. I look forward to continuing to see progress on expanding bus service throughout our region. We not only need better bus service, we also need to have an expanded bus service as well. And through the Mayor's Council Transport 2050 10-year priorities, we're dedicated to doing exactly that, doubling bus service throughout our region. So this is a great day. I'm pleased to be here. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mayor George Harvey.
Well, look at this. How many months have you been in the chair of TransLink Mayor's Council? Look what he's done in 5 months. We've got a RapidBus finally here in south of the Fraser. So good morning, but first I'd like to recognize Councillor Doug Alford from City of Surrey. Thank you for being here, Doug, and Doug's been a very big supportive of this project for many years. So good morning. As Mayor of the City Delta and also proud to be the Chair of Metro Vancouver, I'm thrilled to be part of today's exciting milestone for the R6 Scott Road RapidBus. Today marks a very important day as we break ground on our new RapidBus route that will connect neighborhoods along Scott Road and 72nd Avenue and make it easier for commuters to get to where they want to go, and most importantly, get them out of their cars. People south of the Fraser want to get out of their cars. Now we've got a great project that's going to assist them in doing that. For us in Delta, it has been an economic game changer. We've been working many years on redevelopment of this Delta side of Scott Road. Now we have so many applications coming in. Our economic development group is working extremely hard with their developers, not only because it's a great time to get your plans in, but also the fact that this rapid bus is not just a dream, not just a promise, not just something on a schedule to happen. It's actually being constructed now. That has changed things drastically for us. So I really want to thank everyone who has worked tirelessly to make this project a reality. I also want to thank my council members that are here today. They've been very supportive of my time away from work in Delta as mayor to work on these projects and work with the TransLink staff and our TransLink's mayor council. So we've also been working in partnership with TransLink and the City of Surrey staff to advance this important project. We know that reliable transportation is essential for a thriving community in Delta and south of the Fraser. So together, we are creating more connected, vibrant communities, and I can't wait to see the positive impact that the R6 Rapid Bus will have in North Delta. With Scott Road being one of the busiest corridors south of the Fraser, the R6 Rapid Bus, again, will make a big change for Delta and Surrey residents and help keep up with the growing demand for transit. Looking to the future, Delta will continue to support and advocate for further investments to ensure that faster, safer, and more reliable transportation infrastructure exists to support the people who chose to live and work in our great cities of Surrey, White Rock, and Delta. I know all of us here are looking forward to the opening of the R6 Rapid Bus and the many transit improvements along this corridor. I also would like, before I close, to thank our Minister of Transportation, Minister Rob Fleming, for his commitment to ensure that TransLink is moving forward and being viable, even in today's troubled times. Minister Fleming, the funding that your province provided TransLink just recently has been a real needed boost for us here all over Metro Vancouver, and I can't thank the government so much for paying attention to RapidBus and TransLink throughout Metro Vancouver. So again, I'm looking forward to taking a first ride. I hope it works. But pardon me? It's going to work great, good. And again, to Kevin and everybody else on TransLink staff, thank you for your amazing work. It's a great day, and thank you for having me here. Take care, and let's get a ride.
Thank you, Mayor Harvey. And to the media here, we will first take questions on today's announcement, which is the exciting announcement of Rapid Bus, after which we will be opening to other questions, any other topics that you may have. My colleague Dan has a microphone, so please wait for him to bring the microphone to you so that your questions are clear to our speakers, and please do address who you want to ask the question to. The first question goes to Janet. Janet, do you have a question on R6? No, but I have other questions. Can we just give 2 seconds, Janet? Does anybody have any questions on R6 to begin with? Reagan, CTV, go ahead, please.
Good morning. I was just wondering if someone can address the cost of this project and address concerns to drivers who might be concerned about the impact of traffic, both during construction and once the project is completed.
Sure. Thank you so much for the question. So the budget for this project is $33 million, and that includes capital construction costs for road improvements that we'll be making, bus stop improvements, installation of electronic signage, and accessibility improvements throughout the project. As it relates to traffic, drivers will encounter construction, normal road construction as part of this project, but during construction we will have one through lane maintained in both directions at all times at a minimum. And Scott Road will continue having 2 lanes for traffic in both directions after construction is complete.
Do you have a follow-up, Reagan?
I do, but it's unrelated to the R6.
All right, so we'll come back to you. Any other questions on R6 at this time? Okay, we'll open up to other questions now. And the first question goes to Janet. Janet, go ahead, please.
Mr. Fleming, if you wouldn't mind taking the mic, please. Sure. Yesterday, I believe you had a meeting with Unifor's Gavin McGarrigle regarding transit police and the number of officers they have, 184. He says they need more officers. Transit police say they need more officers. Do you agree? Would you be willing to pump in more money so that more officers can be hired?
I'll let Kevin comment on some of the plans that TransLink already has in terms of hiring for additional safety officers on the transit system. I do know that Minister Farnworth has coordinated with the Chief of Police for TransLink as well as other municipal police forces in the RCMP about stepping up enforcement throughout the TransLink transit system. It is absolutely sad and unacceptable that a young man lost his life this week on the transit system. This is about unacceptable levels of violence in society. It's not specifically about the transit system, although that was the site of where that tragedy occurred. And this is a bigger issue that governments like ours and governments across the country are trying to address through a variety of interventions around mental health, addictions, a more effective public safety system. We're working with Ottawa right now on the sentencing gap that has allowed too many repeat offenders to be out, in some cases within hours of being charged with quite serious and significant crimes. I've worked with Unifor and Mr. McGarrigle and the UTA and other unions on safety for transit operators previously. They have my commitment to continue to take additional steps to make our transit systems, whether it's BC Transit or TransLink, as safe as they possibly can be. And that may mean some new initiatives. I was pleased that Ralph Goodale from the federal government not too long ago successfully amended legislation to make it a more serious crime and an aggravating condition for sentencing if you assault a transit operator in the process of committing a crime. And so we need deterrence, we need better supports and services, we need to address the public safety issues that that Premier Eby and Minister Farnworth are working with Ottawa on right now. I want to reiterate what Kevin Quinn said. It is absolutely unacceptable to see any violence on our transit system. This is a plea for greater civility broadly, I think, in our province and across our country, but specifically zero tolerance for violence on the transit system. So that means stepping up with technology, the text alert system, silent alarms that we have on SkyTrain. I haven't seen all the details on the West Vancouver transit assault incident, but I do know that police were on the scene within minutes. An arrest has been made. We're going to have to work with law enforcement to make sure that the recent string of violent incidents we saw in our transit system is stopped.
But would you like to see more transit police officers or security on board the buses?
Well, I'm very proud that we have one of the most robust transit police systems in the country. I know that other systems are studying ours right now. Edmonton, for example, where they've had a string of violent incidents on the LRT system there. I think it's close to 200 sworn officers, and I know that TransLink has a number of things that are working through the HR system right now to do additional hiring of people whose sole job is the safety of the traveling public on the SkyTrain system. So maybe I'll ask Kevin to say a few words on that as well.
Thank you, Minister, and happy to address this. I want to note that, TransLink is actually the only transportation agency in Canada that has its own dedicated police service. And I think that's really important to note. We do have 184 officers that are out on the system at any given time. I want to note that we've heard those calls, we've heard them, and we are responding. So we have a total of 24 community safety officers that will be joining the force. And that's really helpful because that's going to introduce a bit of a tiered policing model. So those community safety officers are trained in things like de-escalation, how to de-escalate mental health incidents, right? We've seen, I think, around a 30% increase in those mental health related incidents over the years, despite an actual 21% drop in our crime rate. So we want to be sure that we have a police force that's appropriate for what we're seeing out there now. We are adding those 24 community safety officers. We think that's going to be a great addition to the system.
But will you be adding any additional transit police officers? Are you in favor of that?
So let's be clear. I think transit police are a good part of any strategy, right? This is not something that the violence that we're seeing on the system is not something that police alone are going to be able to solve. Look, at our peak hours, we have 1,100 buses out and about throughout the entire Metro Vancouver region. We have 63 SkyTrain stations, 90 SkyTrain cars in service at any moment. There's not enough officers to put a single person on every single one of those vehicles. I think we've got to recognize it's going to be a multi-pronged strategy. Are police one of those prongs? Absolutely. Sure, yes. I think it also comes down to folks knowing about our text service, 877777. We want our riders to know of that service, that will put them directly in contact with a police officer. We're stepping up our patrols, and I look forward to further conversations with the province about what more we can do. It's going to be a multifaceted approach. It's not just police.
But you didn't answer my question. Would you like to see more police officers?
We are
transit
adding more police
officers?
to the system. Yes.
You will be hiring more transit police
We are
officers?
hiring 24 more transit police officers, yes.
I thought you said security officers.
Community safety officers. They are police.
They are police.
Thank you, Janet. We'll come back to you later. The next question goes to Belpuri, CBC. She's right there.
Apologies. I'll find you. Sorry, I couldn't see you from over there. Of course.
Good morning. I have a question from Mr. Quinn and then one for the minister, if I might. Mr. Quinn, so it's my understanding that there have been 18 assaults with a weapon reported by TransLink so far this year. So I'm wondering how you count them. You know, is it every incident? Is there a scale of severity? And what might that mean in terms of how many are never reported?
Sure. So, our police take every incident extremely seriously, and they do an investigation. And based on that investigation, they're able to classify the level of incident. That number that you have, I can't speak to that specifically, but I know the police have a very precise method, and that's a good question for transit police into how they classify and based on their investigation. We have, I want to note that, we have roughly 400,000 riders a day on our system every single day. And the vast majority of those trips are reliable and they are safe. The fact is that we are a public space and we have crime in our communities, and there are times when that crime from our communities does spill over into our transit system. But when we see that, we take action, and that's what we're doing now with increased deployment of our police officers to ensure that that number doesn't get higher.
And you did talk about some numbers as you were talking to Janet. So I'm just wondering, can you speak to the increase in the number of assaults relative to the increase in ridership and how we compare to other jurisdictions? We keep hearing about Edmonton, but generally, how do we compare?
Yeah, so how we compare is we are one of the safest systems in North America. Absolutely. We have not seen the increase in violent crime compared to ridership that other systems have seen. We've seen dramatic increases in ridership. We have not seen commensurate increases in crime.
Thank you. Minister, just quickly, can I ask you, please, different topic, the Fraser Valley bus strike. Your thoughts on that, and at what point does government step in? It's been 3 weeks and nothing's moving, literally.
Yeah, my comment would be I want to see the parties come back together to the table. We have had recent settlements that show there is a pathway forward to achieve collective agreements that meets the goals of both parties, both the contractor in this case, and workers looking to improve their pay and conditions. So last week we had a contract ratified in Greater Victoria, the community I represent, without labor action, even where there have been protracted disputes, and I'm thinking of Whistler specifically, where we involved Vince Reddy. He created what he called a pathway to parity document that allowed them to eventually get to a settlement. So we think that given the rate of settlements, Kelowna's another one without service disruption, Victoria more recently than that, and TransLink, by the way, which I wish to congratulate you, successfully concluding collective bargaining, that the exact same thing can happen in the Fraser Valley. And it's unfortunate that we're in the middle of a dispute right now, but I'm confident that if the two parties can get back together, look at other agreements and how other unions have been able to successfully negotiate deals, we can restore service there and get to an agreement.
How long will you wait for that to happen?
Right now, we have offered mediation, and neither party wishes to involve a mediator. I know that Minister Harry Baines has said that he is available at any time to listen to either party that wishes to involve his ministry on some of the tools that he has available to him under the Labor Code. The use of a professional mediator is one of those. That has not been activated to date, but I suspect there will be a time, and hopefully that is a time very soon, where we will use any and all assistance we can to get service restored, get workers a fair contract, and get both parties to resolve this dispute.
Thank you, Will, and we'll go to Abigail, CTV next.
Hi there, my question's for the Delta Mayor, George Harvey. I'm just looking to get your response regarding Mayor Locke's comments at the Metro Vancouver Mayor's meeting, the support for the RCMP. What are your thoughts on that?
The motion was not support of the RCMP. The motion, first of all, Metro Vancouver does not, and Mayor's Committee, and even the directors, we have no authority within commenting with regards to individual member jurisdictions policing. What the motion was intended to do was to request the province forthwith to make a decision. That's what the motion was for. Now, I think hopefully it has to go to the mayor's full board meeting on April 29th for approval. Hopefully it doesn't even have to go there. Hopefully there'll be an announcement from the province soon as was requested. So it was not supporting whether Surrey Police Department staying or the RCMP staying. It was getting a resolution quickly to which path has to be done, because it is affecting the other member jurisdictions, including Delta, ability to plan and maintain and retain our police force.
Why do you think it was interpreted that way by Mayor Locke?
You'd have to ask Mayor Locke that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go next to Martin, News 1130.
Oh, it's all good. Just another question about the community safety officers. When was the decision on that made? And are they armed as well?
So in terms of community safety officer program, that was just recently approved. And so that was just a few months ago. It's a good question for transit police of exactly what the timing of that is. We have 12 officers currently being hired, in the process of being hired right now. And again, they'll have specialized training in things like mental health awareness, crisis de-escalation, community policing. And so that's really going to enable our transit officers to focus their efforts on criminal activity. Again, it's a tiered policing model. But I think it's that's just one piece of a larger puzzle of focus on what's happening in society, whether it's mental health, drug addiction, and we've got to work with our provincial and community partners to tackle that holistically.
I know you touched on this right off the top, but there are probably families having conversations around the dinner table about whether or not their son or daughter is going to take the bus to school or to work or whatever. What's your message to families? Is the transit system safe right now?
Yeah, my message is transit is absolutely a safe system, and we're doing what we can to make it safer. We're going to do everything in our power to make it safer. Again, I have 2 young kids that take transit, that take our system every single day to and from school, and I've had conversations with them about the 877777 text feature, so that they know the tools that are available to them to use when they're out on the system. And again, with 400,000 people a day riding our system, the fact is that most days go without a single incident on our system. That's the norm for us, and unfortunately, we've seen this recent spate of violent incidents, and so we're going to tackle that head on.
Do you think these are outlying incidents, or do you think that this is the start of something more serious?
From what we can tell and from what I understand from our transit police and RCMP, these incidents are completely unconnected and they seem quite random. Unfortunately, they've come together at a close time.
Thank you, Martin. Are there any other questions at this time? Seeing none, we'll wrap up today's event. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much.